Hi, my name is Sue Sweetek. I'm the owner of Hubba Hubba Foods in York, Maine. Today I'd like to show you how to make kale chips. I know people have a lot of strong feelings about kale. Not everyone's a kale lover, but I love it. And if for nothing else, it's a great vehicle for getting some delicious spices into my mouth. So first let's talk about kale. I've washed some kale. And I've got here two different kinds just to show you what to look for at the grocery store. Now this kale here is Tuscan kale. That's usually how it's labeled at the grocery store. And it has this very dark green color and a very rough texture on the leaf. It's not my favorite for kale chips. It will work, but I like this roughly kind of kale better. This is what's available in most grocery stores. Now I've washed it thoroughly. There's a lot of nooks and crannies in there for dirt to get into, so it's completely washed. And now I'm going to show you how to prep it for the kale chips. Kale has this very tough rib down the back, which needs a long cooking time in order to be tender and tasty. So we're going to get rid of that. We're not going to use a knife or any other tricks. I'm simply pulling the kale off of the rib. So with my right hand, I'm a righty, I'm pulling the rib out with my right hand and holding onto the kale leaves with my left. So I'm going to set that rib aside. This is what it looks like. I've taken all the tasty stuff off. I compost these for my garden, but you can save them to make vegetable stock with them. So let's set that aside. So now I've got all this nice kale here, and it needs to be broken up into bite-sized pieces, about the size that you would want a potato chip to be. So let's see, that one's a little big. And I'm breaking these up and putting them on a sheet pan that I have lined with a piece of parchment paper. Now, these kale chips are not gonna stick to the pan, but I like an easy cleanup, so I like to use parchment. Probably tinfoil would work, but this is just to make my life easier in terms of the cleanup. So we're gonna cover this entire pan with these nice bite-sized pieces of kale in a single layer, because you want every single leaf to get covered with spices so that they all taste yummy. So we're covering this up here, almost done, wonderful. So we've got a single layer here now of kale. Now, my preferred way of making kale chips is to now spray this with an aerosol oil. If that is not something you have, even if you don't have cooking spray, which will work, you can use some olive oil, and while the kale is still in the bowl, you can drizzle in some olive oil and mix it around with your hands and make sure that your kale chips are completely covered with oil. But it's so much easier with a spray, so that is what I'm going to do today. So I'm going to take this particular spray as an olive oil spray. I am going to completely cover these kale chips with some oil spray, and I'm going to take our Hip to the Chili Tex-Mex spice and sprinkle it all over our kale chips. It's not terribly spicy, it's just spicy enough, but it's full of lots of flavor, and luckily it has everything in it that you would need to make these tasty. The salt and pepper is in there, everything, oregano, a little cayenne. So I'm just doing a nice shake of Hip to the Chili, making sure that all of my chips have a little bit of Tex-Mex flavor on them with the Hip to the Chili. Okay, I think that's good. Of course, you're gonna do this to your taste. If you really wanna load it up, you load it up. So here's our kale chips ready to go in the oven. So I have preheated my oven to 350 degrees, and I'm gonna pop those in. In my oven, it takes about 15 minutes to get these nice and crunchy, but you're gonna wanna keep a close eye on them in case your oven differs a little bit. So we've got to get it right in there, and I've got another pan all done Now you can see I've done these nice and well done. And this particular batch, I used our Italian seasoning, Dip Me Daddy-O, because I love it. And these are absolutely delicious, or you could try, if you prefer, herbs de Provence. This would be fantastic with a little added black pepper and maybe some Parmesan cheese. You could do Hubba Barbecue. It's smoky and spicy, or you could try our Hubba Rubba. That one is a little sweet and zesty with Southwest flavors. So I'm gonna just show you real quick how crunchy in just 15 minutes. I don't know if you can hear that. In just 15 minutes, how crunchy. I gotta taste it. Oh my God. How crunchy these get. Get out of there. Some of you have met my husband at some of our events, and he's our cameraman, and he likes to sample. I'm sure you heard the crunch going on there. These are tasty, and I really, really hope that you try them at home. Please send us an email or message us through Facebook if you've tried it. And you can find more recipes using these spices on our website at hubbahubbafoods.com.